Alright, so welcome back. This is Unit 1, Video 2. Today we're going to talk about the careers in psychology. So what are potential careers you can get involved in the future? The book breaks it apart into two different big areas where you may find a career. The first one you can be involved in is what is known as the basic research. You are going to be, basically what it says, you're going to be doing research. You're going to be you're doing science for science sake. You're gathering information. You do research to explore the field in general. Most psychologists in this field are doing the research. They're gathering the data. So one that would fall under this is an educational psychologist. These are the people not so much in the schools, but are researching all schools in general, or they're researching how to put together a proper test. They're trying to gather research to make things more effective. Applied researchers or applied psychologists are the people that are taking the information that they gathered from the basic research and they're applying it. They apply the research to practical everyday use. So once I figured out different ways to maybe run a school or to work with a school, then I'm actually going to be a school psychologist then. So I'm going to break it apart into the different jobs that either they're going to be placed under applied or basic. So you might want to pause it, copy down the information, and then listen to what I say in terms of going through each one. Biological researchers or biological psychologists, they are going to explore the links between the brain and the mind and potentially the rest of the body. They're going to try and figure out why you're acting a certain way to the biological sense. Developmental psychologist, it kind of goes with the word, right? It's going to study the growth of an individual from birth to death. So it's looking at people all the way from at the young state, when should a child begin to walk, talk, all the way to what happens as you get older and your body begins the process of shutting down. Educational psychologist is to study the impact of teaching and learning in various schools. This is not teachers, but they study the teaching field. So don't think of me as an educational psychologist because I teach psychology. These are the people that are outside the school building that are studying the educational system. Should we have co-ed schools? Should we have single-sex schools? Should we have a 5-year high school? What would be better? Cognitive psychologists are going to research and explore how people think, understand, and problem solve. At what age should you be able to complete 2 plus 2? At what age should you be able to read a 500-page novel? Personality psychologist is what it is. It studies your personality. It may help develop personality tests in a way. Social psychologist explores the way people influence one another. So how does society influence the way you interact with things? Experimental psychology, in general, designs research experiments. These are the people that help set up the research experiments if you're going to be doing experimentation. Neurological psychologists, they're very similar to biological psychologists, but more specific just to the brain. So they're going to be looking at, if you get hit on the back of the head, or if you get hit consistently and have consistent concussions, what might happen to you in the long run? I look at cell phones right now. How are cell phones maybe potentially damaging our brain in the long run? Is there some sort of radioactive waves we need to be careful for? Psychometrics, these are the people that are professionally designed tests. So if they need to create a test for a potential police officer and they need to make sure that they can handle the pressures of work, they might be actually designing that test for that company. An engineering psychologist help develop tools and products and technology to help research individuals. So they might be designing the games that teachers are going to use in order to teach math. So they're kind of helping create the tools for the programs. So basic, remember, you really need to understand all the different careers, but these are all basic because they're exploring the research. Applied then is going to take that information that they gathered and apply it to everyday people. Industrial psychologists, these are the people that study and advise people in the workplace. So let's say the morale at a workplace is really low. They're going to come into the job site and try and design a program or talk about the morale and increase productivity. Human factor psychologists, they explore the interaction of how now people are working with machines, computers. It could be something as simple as the machines that now we use on the tri-state for the collect our change, or the new machines that they're putting at grocery stores that are self-checkouts. Counseling, they help people cope with everyday challenges and crisis. These are not severe cases to an extent where there is an abnormal condition or a mental illness going on. This is just the everyday crisis that we may face with our schools, our jobs, the marriage, and just try and improve personal and social functioning. Clinical psychologists work more with social emotional issues where one may have been diagnosed with a mental illness such as depression. So they work with a little bit more of, I would say, the highly severe cases. Health psychologists work to overcome health problems with an individual, and addiction, overweight can fall under the health psychologist. Forensic psychologists apply psychological issues to legal matters, so eyewitness testimony, stuff that's going to be called into the courtroom, how people's minds think. That's all going to be forensic psychologists. Sports psychologists, school psychologists, they help out in schools. So we have 3 school psychologists here that help out with students on an individual matter. And then sports psychologists, they work with athletes and teams to maximize their performance. So I'm sure the Chicago Bears has sports psychologists working for them to go through training such as game performance and performing in front of a lot of people, and how to manage your time and your stress and the public opinion. So they work with sports teams. 2 you need to know the difference between is clinical psychologists and psychiatrists. So a clinical psychologist, they study and assess and treat people that have maybe a mental illness. They cannot prescribe drugs. A clinical psychologist can have a PhD, a doctorate level, and then psychiatrists, they have an MD, a medical professional. These are the people that can prescribe drugs and psychotherapy treatment to disease patients. So you need to know the difference between these 2. Psychiatrists are the people that can prescribe drugs. More education in terms of the biological background.